it's that real coming into understanding that the same waters in us has been in the rain and the rivers and the clouds and our ancestors' blood. We live in relationship through the waters. It cannot be separated. It's the true messenger of interconnectedness, I suppose. And what I love, though, with that, it doesn't maybe get more spiritual than that, the fact it can help us transcend space, time and dimension. And yet it's something so simple. And what I've loved working with it and with the river blessings that we've done, and I'm really excited about this next chapter for me in a creative sense, is it opens up so much, because everyone, when I say I'm doing a project about water, they can identify with it. And I think because we are noticing, getting that awareness of what's actually been happening to water, people want to do something about it. I think it is the element of creativity as well. I think in the Vedic system, it is creative energy. And I suppose in this time where we're seeing this, this rising of technology, it's coming to ask us more and more, well, what is the kind of true role of creativity? And water, to me, is that element.
You're listening to the Spaceship Earth podcast with me, Dan Burgess. The story of Spaceship Earth is simple. We live on a life-giving rock called Earth, hurtling through space. Like a spaceship, we have a finite amount of supplies with an intelligent operating system called nature, which keeps everything replenished as long as we all respect it and participate wisely. In this podcast, I'm in conversation with folk involved in regenerating life, shifting consciousness and reimagining how we can live more beautifully and peacefully. I talk with artists, writers, activists, designers, adventurers, healers, farmers, creative mavericks, and more. Their stories invite us to participate in the co-creation of life-sustaining cultures, in service to life, becoming crew on Spaceship Earth. Greetings, Earthling. Welcome to the Spaceship Earth podcast. This is Dan, your host and guide. Thanks for tuning in. We appreciate your presence here. If you're new here, welcome aboard. And if you're returning, welcome back. The Spaceship Earth explores the intersections of ecology, culture, and transformation. It's a place where we ask, how might we live with greater imagination and responsibility as crew members on board a living planet in crisis? We explore two main stories: the passenger story, the dominant story of modernity, shaped by separation, extraction, and control. A story leading us towards ecological and cultural breakdown. The second is the crew story, a story of relationship, participation, and regeneration. A story that remembers we belong with each other, with the places around us, and with our more than human family. The idea of Earth as a spaceship came from Buckminster Fuller, who observed that we all share this extraordinary vessel hurtling through space, utterly dependent upon its life support systems. Becoming crew is an invitation into shared stewardship of the spaceship. From separation to relationship, from entitlement to participation, from spectators of collapse to active participants in bringing life back to the places we call home. Through conversation, stories, and learning experiences, we explore what it means to live regeneratively. Learning to dance with complexity, contradiction, grief, beauty, mystery, and surprise without abandoning the dance floor. Welcome to the Spaceship Earth. So, in this episode 118, I'm in conversation with ecological artist Anna Murray. Now, Anna was first on the pod back in 2018, episode 8. She's also co-founder and creative director of conscious design studio Paternity, established on a core belief that a shared awareness and understanding of life's many patterns can create more regenerative and connected ways of living, of which we explored much of that in that particular episode. So 8 years on after that appearance, Anna returns to Spaceship Earth for a conversation recorded beside the waters on the land at Ghostwood Down. And this conversation is really Anna as an ecological artist and an extraordinary creative human, finding her way through these times, learning to trust her intuition, commitment to creative practice, and the power of connection and community. And if there was a theme to this conversation, it might be, what if water is more than resource, but one of our oldest teachers? Together with the stream alongside us, we go on a deep, babbling, meandering exploration of what it means to cultivate a deeper relationship with water, not simply as something we need to protect, but as something that has always shaped who we are as human beings. From rivers and rituals to beauty, creativity, loss and grief, we reflect on the quiet practices and the deeper listening that help us remember our place within the living world. Anna shares the personal and creative journey that led to her new platform, Wellspace, and her first immersive exhibition, The Waters Are Speaking. An extraordinary tale, this is, of persistence, emergence, trust, and co-creation with human and more than human collaborators, and why creating spaces of awe and reverence may be just as important as raising awareness in these unraveling times. This conversation is an invitation to slow down, to notice, to make time for beauty, and perhaps to rediscover that changing our relationship with the world begins by changing the way we participate in it. Water is the obvious subject, but this conversation isn't really about water. It's about remembering relationship and interdependence with all life through water. As to neurodivergence, this was a long conversation, but one I absolutely loved. There's so much in here, and I so appreciated the chance to really explore the tributaries, pools, puddles, and the flowing rivers of our minds, rambling and yarning together. And there is something for me here which is coming up again and again about neurodivergence, often opening up different ways of perceiving this living spaceship, which feels helpful and hopeful, to me at least. So I hope you enjoy this, and if you get a chance to go and visit Anna's exhibition, go. It will be wild, I'm sure. This is the Spaceship Earth podcast in conversation with Anna Murray. Enjoy. So, Anna, welcome back to the Spaceship Earth podcast and to Ghostwood Down. We are live under a flight path.
Thanks for having me.
It's a pleasure. Sort of a thorn. It's all happening.
Yeah, it's well. We were just negotiating how I should sit on between a tree stump.
How do we navigate the tree stumps in our lives?
Yeah, it's fine. Some nettles.
It was the 20th of July, 2018. Wow. We had a conversation. So that's pretty much 8 years ago. That
is wild.
That's wild, isn't it?
Look at the difference. Look at us now.
I know. It was on a computer.
Yeah,
I remember that.
Mm.
And it's like, well, quite a lot's happened, it feels like.
I seem to recall the only piece of nature we had that was, there was a fly that played quite a key role in that.
There was a fly that did somehow make its way into the episode.
Yeah.
It was.
And now we've got dragonflies, we've got rivers, trees. Which are these trees?
So we're in the spot known as Alders Holding.
Mm.
And obviously, you know, water being a big theme for you and for the work you're doing and for what we're going to chat about, I just thought, well, this land, water features strongly on this land. And then there's certain spots where it really feels like it's present. And so I thought, we'll come down here to the Alders.
I think this is the loveliest place.
Yeah.
Yeah. The perfect place to be.
We've got the stream, and obviously the source for that stream is it's literally just in the next field, and it makes its way down along the bottom of the site and then heads off into the neighbouring farm, and it hits a lake, and then it hits a tributary, which is the Lambrook, and then it makes its way down to Bath and joins the Avon down
the river to the River Avon.
Yeah,
Avon or river it means, doesn't it?
Yeah, that's it. And then the alders, as I've come to learn a lot about these trees, I didn't really have much of a relationship with alders before we became guardians of this land, and I've learning more about these trees, and they are a tree of water, and they basically get stronger in water.
Yeah, that's beautiful.
And in some ways, as the waters rise, the alder gets stronger. So I was kind of like, well, that's probably a metaphor for our time. Because the waters are rising. But anyway, welcome.
Yeah, wonderful.
It's lovely to do this. And I always now, well, if you were on a screen, I'd go, so whereabouts are you on Spaceship Earth? Obviously, you're here, right? Oh, yeah. You're here with me.
Right here.
Yeah, right here. But I guess, I'm always intrigued how everyone is experiencing the spaceship right now. How are you experiencing, and what would you describe the vibes? So in your ecosystems, what are you sensing right now at this moment to start with?
And it's such a hot day today, isn't it? So I think we have had this, in the midst of this incredible, beautiful summer. And it also feels like there's a feeling of unease in the air as well. There's all this beauty. And I've felt it so strongly this summer. It's just so beautiful. And being able to be out and in your body and, feeling the breeze and not having to bring a jacket everywhere has been wonderful. And at the same time, and the power this year of just, God, being in water, being by water, having a shower when you're dripping with sweat or going and drinking water. Never have we perhaps, certainly in the UK, had the feeling, or certainly not in my memory, of how essential water is. Like we know it, but it's maybe become viscerally, somatically right front and centre. That how can we hold the beauty and the grief at the same time? How can we have joy and pleasure and fun, but also acknowledge the depths and the sorrow and seeing the grief of what's happening, whether it's to our waters, to other ecosystems, to people all around us. It's all around us unless we completely switch off. And even if we switch off, we still feel it because it's a collective. It's a collective thing. So I guess I'm feeling very in-betweeny, feeling the in-between times, or the interim times. That lovely John O'Donoghue poem, isn't it? The interim times. So I'm feeling in-betweeny and I'm enjoying this lovely weather. And I'm feeling a little bit anxious because I've got this big project coming up, and I felt like I've been a hermit for quite a long time. Not quite for 8 years since I last saw you, but not far off. Not far off, yeah.
Yeah, I'm definitely feeling the in-betweens.
I felt like I've been wintering in summer this year. And I know a few people who've said the same. There's been a lot going on kind of in the stars, many people say, and it's been foreseen for a long time. We're moving through such a shift. And actually, I think for a lot of the people who really feel a lot, it's been quite disorientating. And I wanted to start something called the Rainy Day Club, which is where you pretend it's a rainy day, but because there's a feeling that I think this is also part of my brain makeup too, maybe, but it's like that feeling of, if it's sunny, like there's almost like a feeling of pressure, like you should be doing something. Right. And sometimes you do just need that, you need that slower pace and that kind of, you let your nervous system calm down. When
the rains do come, which hopefully they will soon, that's the thing that's been making me probably the most unsettled, is the lack of water, the lack of rain. And we've got a lot of young trees on this land, seeing how they're just really struggling, seeing my tiny little vegetable patch, seeing weird shit going on with fruit trees, stuff that I've never seen before, which can only put down to lack of water and intense heat. And at some point, it's kind of like us as beings, we're also in this position, right? So there's this kind of this paradox, contradiction between the sort of, oh my God, why clearly like the climate is falling apart, and it's fucking great fun. This thing. And so people keep going out, parties. And my Instagram feed seems to be full of like people raving and wildfires. Those are exactly. Two things. It seems to be like looks like everybody in the world is at a party and everyone who's not at a party is running from a wildfire.
Yeah.
And you think, well, at some point,
on one scroll. Yeah.
And then the waters will come, the rains will come. And what will that, I wonder what that shift will be like actually.
Yeah.
Because there's something also, maybe that's also this thing why we want the sun so much, because it does seem to sort of soften us, takes us maybe slightly out of the mechanistic, the kind of restlessness, I don't know,
and in connection with others, isn't it? It's like we can connect more with others in this time, because it's easier.
Yeah,
we can just go to the park, and we can do things that don't cost money well.
That's it.
You can actually be just out and about enjoying on a. But I think we've never had it where it's been so hot we couldn't go on a walk, for example.
Right.
Like it's been that hot, hasn't it, this summer?
Yeah.
I think that's been a first.
Yeah, living in the in-between, that feels like the theme. I was thinking about that conversation we had in 2018 with the fly. and I remember there was something in that conversation that I ended up, I don't know if you remember, I did tell you about it, but I took something you said and I put it into this DJ mix I did a couple of years after it, right?
Yes.
And it was really interesting, because actually you were talking about the water.
Oh my gosh.
That was you were saying, we're talking about what water represents, how water is, the element.
The element that is linked to our emotions, our feeling, our sensing, is linked with the feminine. And again, this kind of awakening that I think is happening in the world is very much a water-based awakening. We're really starting to tune in to how the waters of the earth are suffering, and we are being called to answer to that suffering, I believe. But also that's linked with how we connect with our emotions, and that's for men, for women, for everyone, to really start to go deep into their feminine, and that being the kind of qualities of being in relation to the earth and honouring our interconnectivity and our beingness. I think there's an element of the water of really a spirit of being.
And I just thought it was interesting, because here we are 8 years on, and your focus is so centred on the waters.
Yeah.
Both this work you're doing with this new project, World Space, and this exhibition that we're going to speak of that's about to go live, The Waters Are Speaking.
Yeah.
So I wonder whether we could just start with a little bit of how has that water story really, how have we got to this? Because it was clearly really alive when we were last chatting 8 years ago.
I know, it's kind of mad hearing that back.
Yeah.
It almost feels like another person, but then it's not. It's part of me. Feels like, it's coming back to kind of nourish me, because I'm at that stage with this work, just about to share it and it's funny doing these kind of talks, because kind of when your confidence goes, I find, when you're just about to launch something or share it. And I was thinking, get all this, the imposter or whatever it is, but it takes you out. It takes you out of it, because it's not even and we talked about being vessels. It's not about me, but it's about something that I feel has been calling me clearly, for a really long time through the paternity work, and then it's deepened. We did quite a few projects that were related to water and paternity, but when COVID happened and both Grace and I moved out of London around about that time, and it was actually prior to that, I'd stood on this river in Bruton, and I'd been thinking like, where do I go and live? I stood on this river, and I just thought, I got this like kind of thunderbolt of feeling like, it's here. And then I ended up by a kind of really wonderful spirally kind of synchronistic thing, ended up moving into the house that I'd been looking at just over the road from the water. And since then, I lived on essentially on the banks of a river. So I've lived there for 5 years now, and I've sat with that river. I've made offerings to that river. We've done river blessings and ceremonies with a community of bards and druids and wonderful characters, kind of in and around Somerset and beyond. And just, I suppose, really deepened my love of water just by really being in relationship with the river. And the first place I went when I moved there was on a river walk. It was COVID. I moved there, I didn't know anyone, so I met the river first, and someone had told me, you can go along this path and go and walk along the river, and I ended up putting some of my dad's ashes in that river. and I've done lots of personal kind of grief work with that river, but just in a very simple, very self-led way. And I suppose it's been a very inward time, which is why it feels quite a vulnerable thing to kind of share this work, because it's been a very, very personal, quite inward journey with the water work. And it's not something that I've shared that much about. And I've not known what on earth I was doing or where it was leading me at, but I did know that various different things along the way, you know, I very much have to like try things out and get the feedback and see like, oh, how do I feel about that? So I opened up a physical shop space where I live in Bruton, and it was called Spirals, which is one of the symbols for water and gratitude and the creativity of life. And I loved it. Didn't love running a shop, I realised. I'm too watery. So kind of being sat in the same place every day didn't quite suit my energy. But what I loved was I'd play music and people would come in and it would smell a certain way and we'd have conversations, and it was a bit like a cave, this shop, and people would kind of come in and they'd sit with me, or they'd come and, you know, not always buy things, but I didn't really actually, the transactional nature of running a shop, I also didn't love.
Sounds familiar.
And it was so funny because I had a friend come in one day and there was just lots of objects of things I appreciated, like kind of beautiful old seed pods and rocks and stones. And someone came in one day and they were like, is this for sale? And I was like, oh no, that's not for sale. And they said, is this for sale? It's like, oh no, that's just a display. It's like, I think maybe running a shop wasn't my absolute forte. It's just things that I really appreciate that I wanted to share, my favourite rocks. But what I loved was this sense and this feeling of arriving in a space, and it was very had this womb-like feeling, and it felt very feminine. It felt like kind of going into this cave, and I'd had a lot of guides, a lot of Glennie Kindred's books that I absolutely adore, and I did a few river walks and river retreats with people. So it was just through this series, I guess, of having done the big work with paternity, which now feels like a complete different lifetime ago, to going on a very, very personal journey with water, and then doing the shop, which I realised wasn't the thing, but it kind of helped me to think, because what I do want to do is create more of an immersive space where you can really feel the sense of water, take it to people.
I love that. It's interesting hearing you talk. I guess the shot was almost a constraint that allowed you to sort of maybe sit with this a bit and maybe figure out what it isn't, and but like have this way of interacting with people and the water, and maybe it sounds like it was a bit of a laboratory for what came out of this. It was.
It felt like, and I think if that's that piece of, I guess that's that piece of listening to our intuition. It's like being open to experimentation and being willing to listen, to maybe not get it right, but it to lead you to something that does feel right. Because actually in the back of my head there was probably always this work, but I actually found what I kept doing. And I feel like a lot of people might resonate with this. Like there's the project that you really in your heart, like you want to do. And for me, it was like something around the water, but I kept doing other things almost to slightly distract myself, and then I'd get a bit of a dopamine hit, like I've done that, but there was always this project that was like kind of there. For me, this was a commitment to kind of really doing this project and just seeing where it leads me. And I'm actually at the point now, maybe it's a self-preservation thing, where I'm saying it's not even about this project, it's actually been about the journey of the creative journey and that kind of winding, messy, squiggly, spirally path that takes you, can take you to the bottom of the well.
Yeah, right.
Quite literally.
There's something you said, which I don't want to like go down a massive rabbit hole, but I think it's really important, because you talked about self-led. You were talking about self-led ritual, like with the river and stuff. And the reason I wanted to bring it up, because what I experience quite a lot in the practice work that I do, is that there are many people have a real interest to try and step more into this, I don't know, let's say the mystery of life, right?
Yeah.
And are becoming quite intrigued by ritual and ceremony and these things, but often feel like I don't know enough about that, right?
Yeah.
And what I tried to say in my sort of very kind of like, like I don't claim to be a kind of a center of knowledge, but what I know through my own practice is that you know, you when you create ceremony and ritual for yourself, you just do what feels right for you, right?
Yeah.
And actually the way to sort of really step into this space. And I wonder whether you could just share anything about that self-led journey you've been on, because I feel like I see it being such a block to people. It's almost in their heart, they know they want to go there, but they might feel like that I don't know how to do it.
Yes.
I don't know.
Yeah, no, I love that.
What have you learnt maybe through sort of self-led ceremony, ritual practice that you could share
I think so much of it is about a softening, isn't it? When we do ritual ceremony, what I love is in these times where we're so switched on all the time, it's an opportunity to switch off. So actually sometimes even just the container, just creating a container for yourself of time. So like literally going, I'm going to put this time in to do this. And to me, ritual can be so many things. Like it can be going and sitting with the river and listening. It could be drawing, anything where it's intentional and helps you to step out of that linear way of being and helps you to get more connected to your heart and that sense of your deep, deep creativity. For me, it's going to the river or going to the source of the brew. That's been a big place where I've gone. What I love about ritual is it's so playful and it's so childlike. And I think really the creative journey is one of healing our inner child, isn't it? And that's what's so lovely with so much ritual work is it's flowers, it's chocolate, it's seeds, it's sitting in nature and just spending time. But it is about that honouring and it is about that kind of reciprocity piece. So, you know, when I do go to the river, I'll often just take some flowers and I'll just you know, connect to my heart and thank the river, thank the waters of this world. It's kind of so simple, but it requires maybe more of that childlike way. You know, it's just like, thank you. Like, thank you so much. And there's no need for any complexity. And that's what I love about it. It's just this constant dialogue. I absolutely love Bali as a place that I absolutely adore. I haven't been back for years and I'm a bit worried to know what's I feel it's changed quite a lot. But one of the things I loved there was all the offerings everywhere. What I loved about it is it's just everywhere you go, there's offerings to everything. Like at the dry cleaners, there's offerings on the dry cleaning equipment. There's offerings on the cars. There's offerings outside the doorstep. And it's with the elements. So you've got incense, you've got flowers, then they splatter water over it. And it's just that constant visual of we're so grateful for how this all connects together and we're part of this and we're not separate. And it's the physical act, which is the creative act, is that kind of devotional piece, isn't it? It's that devotional saying yes to life each day. So yeah, but for me, running a bath can be a ritual, or a meal can be a ritual, or any, it is so accessible, but maybe that can feel like there's too many options perhaps. But I think it's going with your intuition as to what's led you. For me, it was water. Yeah, when I got I got an outdoor bath, actually, that was my first.
I remember seeing that on your Instagram. Yeah.
So I moved into a house that didn't have an indoor bath, and I clearly am a water gal, and so I was just like, I need to have a bath. So I bought a 20 quid bathtub on Gumtree, and it arrived, and I just put a little nozzle on the tap, and then it just plugs in. But having that bath, because it is a bit of a ritual, because it's outside, so all the leaves and things all get in it, and it always needs to clean when I do it. But when I get out, I'm just sat in the bath, and the river's at the end of the garden, and I just think, wow. I mean, it is. I feel so lucky and so grateful, and that's when I switch off my phone. And I think just back to ritual again is the intention. And I think when it's just really that space of honouring and asking as well, asking for help, asking for support, asking for advice. I've gone to the river so many times, at times that I've felt so lost, so confused, like, and just help me to make the next best step. Help me to make that next best step, or just pure gratitude. So I think the frequency of gratitude is the most powerful frequency. And it just blasts the cobwebs out, doesn't it? And whenever I get into self-criticism, comparison, it's gratitude that takes me back.
There are two stories on Spaceship Earth, a passenger story and a crew story. The passenger story is based on extraction, transaction and distraction, and it's leading us towards collapse. The crew story is based on connection, cooperation and participation. It leads towards regeneration.
You're listening to the Spaceship Earth podcast with my dad, Dan Burgess.
It's funny, isn't it? I can't remember, I was having a conversation with someone recently, but we're talking about, again, like, you know, what you're speaking to. And at least from what I understand, it wasn't that long ago when we were all still doing this. Do you know what I mean? It was I don't know, maybe 50, 80 years or something on these lands, perhaps. I don't know. You'd be talking to the trees every day.
Yeah.
You know, and so in some ways, I always I love bringing this stuff back up because I think, well, that's quite hopeful, isn't it? Because it's like literally a sort of it's a kind of micro nanosecond in Earth time that we've forgotten this way of being. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? This way of honouring and connecting and being in relationship with this other life that's around us. We just got to start doing it again. Yeah. You know what I mean?
It's like an Etch-a-Sketch.
Yeah, right.
You know, you shake it.
Exactly.
And it's gone, but we're just bit by bit, just drawing a new drawing.
Exactly. And I know what that barrier is like for people, because I've been there in the past, where it's sort of like you're knowing and you're like, oh, really? Can I really talk to the river? Can I really take my problems to the trees? Can I really, you know what I mean? And it's like, you can actually just do it
and see how it feels.
Yeah, I was just do it a few times before you make your mind up. And that's really helpful to hear, just for that little bit of sharing. I guess this is why we'll dig into the work you're doing, but this is really, I guess, what I've discovered after sort of 8 years of rambling on this podcast and all my other experiments, is that ultimately, it's a relational. We're in a moment of time where, if we want things to change, we have to be we have to become them. We have to participate in the change. Yeah. Because it ain't gonna happen otherwise. Yeah. You know what I mean? And so we can talk about it and we can think about it and we can campaign about it and we can innovate and we'll do all these great things. But if we can't bring ourselves to let go of some ways and to step into some other ways and to really become part of this whole experimental shift, then it won't happen.
Totally.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so there is a sort of like it is quite simple. Yeah. And yet it can feel so sort of like impossible.
And it's those little micro decisions that we make every day, isn't it?
Yes.
And in the busyness, it's the first thing to go. My ritual practice is the first thing to go. Yeah. The irony of working on a water based piece, and I realised I hadn't been in water enough. Right. I'd been at my desk, and even today, you kindly gave two options for this. It could either have been at my desk or here, and I was thinking, I've got so much to do, and we've got emails to send. I'm like, of course. My instinct was straight away, be here with you, and then my mind came in and said, but you've got all that work you need to do, and then look, we're sat here and we'll make an offering to the river and say thank you. I already did when we arrived, and just that thank you. I think nature, I've had days, I'm sure you have, but where you're in that space of gratitude, and it's literally like nature is putting on like the most beautiful just like show for you. It's like, I remember I went away on my own when I was, I think it was my 30th birthday. No, anyway, a significant birthday. And I just switched my phone off like the whole week. I went to Ireland, and it was on my actual birthday. And I just was in this like such a grateful space. It was a hard time in my life, but I was in a very grateful space. And it was the beauty of all the patterns actually I was seeing, but it was in the seaweed. It was in these shells that I'd find. It was in the rocks. It was the ferns, like everything was putting on this like uber display, unaided by psychedelics.
Yeah, right, yeah, exactly.
And that magic and that mystery it's always there. And I think it comes more online when we take time to slow down and see it. Yeah. And we forget.
And I think it's it's just the programming is so full on, right? And how we, like what you were just talking about, like the rational mind wanting to dominate the decision, actually do it online because you can get on with the emails and the other stuff. Do you know what I mean? That's the rational, that's the dominant
efficient
thing, right? And then there's the kind of like the creative, expansive, the feeling part of us, the heart, all of this stuff wanting to open up.
Yeah.
And again, it's like, you know, you look at, like, you know, like all in Grilchris's work and, you know, all of this, because we've been so, that part of our minds is so trained to dominate.
Yeah.
It dominates the decision making.
Yeah,
so it's
totally.
dominating these decisions, whether it's, do I do this podcast online or you know, should I spend any time with my child, or should I go and sit outside, or should I go and talk to the guy who's living out on the street, or whatever it is.
Totally.
Right?
Yeah.
It's kind of like we want to go there, but this mind is dominating the decision-making process. We work a lot with trees here on the land, right? So trees are a huge, you know, I said to you earlier, for me, they are my teachers, and they're a big part of this project. And we have these different trees on the land in these different spots, and we work with people, and we, you know, invite people to basically just sort of open up these different trees, just to sort of see what comes. But again, with the tree, even if you're the most, you know, if you have a very kind of mechanistic, rational mindset, whatever, if you go and stand underneath, like if you stood underneath this alder here, this like a grand, this is an ancient alder, right? It's like you know, if you walk down here on your own and you walked onto that for the first time, for the first instant you look at it, you would feel something, and then you would recognize that you're in the presence of something that is alive, that is wise, that is, and then the rational mind would just kick in really quickly, and you go, it's a fucking tree. Do you know what I mean? It's just a tree. It's just a tree. It's just wood. And so there's this, I don't know, there's something really fascinating for me in this whole, these micro moments where we're trying to hack our way out of this machine.
Yeah.
It's like, I mean, it's so strong, because it's like, I want to be with this, but no, I've got to be here.
Well, we had a lovely moment when you were showing me, we were walking down here and we just went under, which tree was that?
That was the
hazel. And, you know, it's a beating hot day. And then as soon as we went under there, and like that here, it's like we're under the dappled light. I mean, dappled light is probably one of my favourite things.
Yeah.
And trees give us the dappled light, don't they? It's just that they're there, they're protecting us, they're keeping us cool, they're giving us sustenance, they're creating a strong foundation. You know, there's so much.
And they do it with such beauty.
Yeah.
Because I know beauty is a big thing in your work as well,
yes.
right? I guess there's this sort of like the importance of beauty in a time that can feel quite ugly.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
What is that? As a kind of motivator, I guess, for change, or for action, or for, you know, when there is so much kind of destruction and violence and ugliness.
Yeah.
That can also, you know, can dominate, particularly I guess in movement building or change-based work. You know, the sort of overwhelm of the sort of I guess the conditions that we find ourselves in. But actually, how do we allow more beauty?
And when we experience beauty, it's that feeling, isn't it? It's a heart feeling. It's a knowing. It's a deep knowing, I think, when we experience beauty. And there is so much beauty, and it's there. It's there, you know, for us to witness. And I think when we witness that, we maybe witness our beauty more. There's something in that, and we build that. We build the not in our physical beauty, but just the beauty of life. You know, there's so much magic and the creative power of life. We see it, and there's so much that's to create beauty. There's so many interrelated happenings, aren't there? It's always the elements kind of interacting with one another, and you can't separate one without the other. They're all interwoven. And so I think when we see the beauty, it's like a portal into the sacred. It's a portal into something that is so timeless. Like we're in a realm of the mystical. We're in the realm that our ancestors knew so intimately and so beautifully. And for me, you know, the simple beauty of offering a flower to a river, I mean, it's pure bliss. But it's like a child would love to do that as much as an elder.
Yes. More beauty.
But it's a tricky one with working with beauty, because with the piece that I'm working on at the moment, it's not bypassing the horrors. It speaks to what's happening to our water systems. It speaks to what's happening to our rivers. It speaks to the privatisation and the growing inequality and the running out of water. And so it doesn't bypass that, but the aim is to create a space of real beauty. So you really feel sense of reverence and a love, because as we know, you can only really care for something once you feel that feeling and that connection and that love. So I guess that's an invitation through the beauty, through being immersed in this beautiful watery space, that people might go, I actually want to maybe do something now practically, or maybe they'll just go and sit with water more, or they'll just see the beauty more. And I think even that, just seeing the beauty more, and I hope that maybe this might help people just notice water more.
Yeah, let's. I think noticing's a great word. I think for your work, there's always seems to be this creating conditions for people to notice more, to notice, to see what else is there, or to see a much kind of deeper sense of what is around something, or what connects something, and I think let's go into water, because that is obviously now where your work has been going over these 8 years, and you're about to launch this exhibition. Yeah. And I guess there was a question I have around water, because it feels like, it's interesting for me when I look at, there's a few things going on in my head when I think about this moment. I think about water. Yeah. It's almost like, we're in this, like, it's like whatever, it's like the earth is on fire, right? So we're in this really kind of hot, fiery moment in time. And some of that, when I sort of think about it, it feels like it's the kind of almost this, this burning up. There's like a burning up that's going on, but there's this kind of burning up of the resources, and a sort of burning energy of, I don't know whether that's the kind of, still this kind of energy of colonialism and I don't know what, but all this kind of
that masculine
kind of really kind of like intense, acute sort of view of masculine energy, which is fire, and sort of like power, suck it all up and burn it all up. It's like, and so I sort of really feel, I could feel that. And that's when I see like people that are working with water, or there's something going on with water that feels like it's trying to counter that. I mean, look at the wildfires that are going on at the moment. I mean, they are in Europe, they are just this kind of like really like, manifestation of the kind of this sort of burning energy. Yeah. But what I have seen that's just got me very curious, even just with the work I've been drawn to with the river work around here, is just seeing what I'm seeing with my own experience, was just seeing how like river action and people starting to come to the rivers, and there's something that's going on that I'm witnessing that I've never seen in other kind of movement-based work, which is that there's something about the river movement and the water movement that is first of all, it seems to be bringing quite a lot of different people into it. Like, it's not a monoculture. Do you know what I mean? There's sort of like, you've got like conservationists, you've got activists, you've got artists, you've got kind of like healers, you've got kind of like, musicians, it's just like a real, and also what we're seeing is, even in the rights to river work, you're getting kind of like councillors, and people are starting local politics, things are starting to happen that are really positive actually, and they're coming out of the water river-based things. So there's something about that energy of water that I'm finding absolutely fascinating at a time where everything else seems to be going up in flames, literally. Yeah. So I wondered there's something about that. But you said, you have this thing where you talk about how water's always been shaping us. And because I think you were saying that it's not just about like how do we preserve and protect the water, but it's remembering there's something much bigger that's going on with water and our relationship to it. So I don't know whether, I know you've been on this journey. That's been about. It seems to be like you've been really kind of remembering in the true sense of the word this relationship with water, and I wonder whether you could just give us a bit of that story that then leads to the work today. Yeah. And did any of that rambling make sense?
No, it definitely did. It did to my watery brain. Yeah, for sure. No, but that again, that is the waters. It is this, it's this flowing, sometimes chaotic, sometimes fast moving, sometimes still. Like there's something so beautiful in how different water is and how changeable it is. And I agree with you on this. The movement, it's working on these different levels, isn't it? There's the legal and the kind of rights for rivers, And then there's the cold creative movement. There's the very practical. I've done some work in Bruton with the Brew Crew, which is, checking river fly larvae and all of that. And then there's a sacred piece, which I guess is where my kind of work and my journey comes. But it's through this, I guess, like a very, well, like I say, a ritual based inquiry, and a very intuitive inquiry. But it's also that the scientific as well, which was always what paternity did actually, which was like this merging of the scientific and the spiritual. But it's that real coming into understanding that the same waters in us has been in the rain and the rivers and the clouds and our ancestors' blood. We live in relationship through the waters. Like it cannot be separated. Like it's the true messenger of interconnectedness, I suppose. And what I love though with that, and that's the spiritual of like, it doesn't maybe get more spiritual than that, the fact it can help us transcend space, time and dimension. And yet it's something so simple. And what I've loved working with it and with the river blessings that we've done, and what I love, and I'm really excited about this next chapter for me in a creative sense, is it opens up so much, because everyone I've spoken to, when I say I'm doing a project about water, they can identify with it, whether that's somewhere that they loved when they were a child, or it's a place that's really special to them, or just that they love having baths, or their local river, or it's so accessible. And I think because we are noticing, and obviously brilliant like documentaries like Dirty Business are kind of getting that awareness of what's actually been happening to water, people want to do something about it, I think. And I think it is the element of creativity as well. I think in the Vedic system, it is creative energy. And I suppose in this time where we're seeing this, this rising of technology, it's coming to ask us more and more, well, what is the kind of true role of creativity? And water, to me, is that element. It's that feminine, interconnected, holistic, wants to kind of get involved with everything else, peace. And like that's what it's so collaborative. And I'm so excited about the movement that I'm seeing. And what it calls for me is like, what is everyone's unique piece? Because I think we all have something to do for the waters at these times. I feel like we could all respond in some way, whether it's very, very small or it's something bigger. And I just hope my work might spark more conversations and more connections and more opportunities to collaborate and ways to connect with water at the centre. Because one of the things I struggle with doing work, creative work, was there was always a client at the centre. There was always a brand at the centre. And what I realised through some projects that I did love, but they had something at the centre which wasn't really... I wanted water to be at the centre. I wanted water to be my client and my collaborator. I didn't want to maybe do work so much about nature, but I wanted to do it with. And so that's been this whole like ritual journey, I suppose. And still I fall off the wagon. Still, in the busyness in the run up to the show, I'm not doing my rituals and I'm not speaking and saying thank you to the river, even though it's right at the end of my garden, because I'm busy with my emails.
Yeah. That is the contradiction.
Yeah.
We're just all wrestling with.
I know. And then you think
water's at the centre, but today it's email.
And of course, but of course, any creativity, any feminine energy also needs our own internal masculine to hold it as well. So it's about those two coming into balance, man or woman. We all have the feminine and we all have the masculine, obviously. So it's like, how can my inner masculine, my structures, my boundaries, my containers, how can they support the flow of the creative energy within me, the feminine, the communal giving, the kind of ever flowing? It's like they all need honoring and they all need listening to.
Gosh, there's a lot there on the masculine and the feminine and the waters. And I'm again seeing, like, I know this is me being quite literal, but are you seeing, men being active in this water meets, say, creativity space, or is it quite feminine in its...
Such a good question. Well, Pat McCabe's one of my absolute faves, and she obviously speaks to the waters so much. And she had a beautiful podcast. I can't remember the name of it, but she spoke of the masculine being the riverbanks, and then the women and the feminine being the flow. and I love that idea, that kind of that holding energy of maybe that is it. I don't know. I'm not sure, but I like that feeling of the collaboration and the importance of both, and neither one can exist without the other. And we need both in these times, and we all need to feel that sense of purposefulness.
Yeah, it's very live, that whole inquiry of the sort of opening up the full masculine spectrum in these times, and how do we find ways as men to open up those parts of ourselves. It feels like a very sort of like back to the fire and the burning and the kind of like the energy and the kind of the power, and it's just such a sort of like such a limiting view of what masculine can be and is. There's so much being suppressed through that version. And so I'm kind of interested, I guess, in this sort of maybe what might be in how could the waters help sort of open those parts of us up. So you have Well Space, and then you have your first exhibition, The Waters Are Speaking. Could you just give us just the listeners, a little sense of how are these Well Space and then this first exhibition?
Well Space is the container, it's the well for the deeper work, which is bridging immersive arts with water consciousness and ritual. But it's really that I hope that will be a very collaborative platform to bring together artists and different makers, different anyone into this. If they have water at the center, if water is really at the center of their work, or they would like it to be, that's where we can dialogue, and that's where we can explore what we could create perhaps together. And there's an online platform where people can get resources, and it's not just the installations, but it's also where to find more nature-based work in your local community. So it could be that people can find out about river action work to base. The idea is that the installations will be the activation points where people can come and experience this sense of like beauty and awe and wonder and really connect to the feeling of water. And then there's a ripple effect in community. So I'd love to travel around with different pieces, different works, and spark more conversations and connections so they can do practical work, and then can also experience ritual and go deeper with ritual work as well. So it kind of activates those different layers, just not the legal from my side, because that's definitely not my wheelhouse. But it's really with that creative, I guess it's really activating that kind of creative element, which has always been the nature of my work. I can't not be like that. The Water Speaking is my first installation, and it's bringing together over 10 years of the documentation of all the different water sites and ceremonies that I've been to, both field recordings and sound recordings. And so it's got, from all around the world, wherever I've gone. Again, I had no idea why I was doing this. Amazing. I was just following something that felt good, and I was on a beach once, and just this incredible water ceremony just started happening in Bali, and they were taking water from their community and they were taking it to the sea, and that's something that they would do often to kind of bring that sense of connection and connecting the waters. And then the video documentation is of ripples and waters, and from everywhere I've been, it's just been little video snippets, and then together with an amazing team, so sound and video editing, and there's a meditation in the piece. We've created this installation piece, and it's like a physical structure, and you'll come into this room, which is an incredible converted Methodist church. And I loved having it there because, as we know, so many Christian churches were originally kind of pagan, Celtic sites of devotion. And so really bringing water back as that central devotional piece, which is across all religions as well, which is what I love about water. For me, it feels like one of the greatest unifiers. Yeah. And so there'll be a central water altar in the centre made by Kit and Grayson, and people will come in and sit in circle, very much like you're sharing space up there. And they'll be immersed in a kind of audio visual piece, which is a guided journey where they'll hear my voice and some other voices talking about what's happening to water, and they'll see all these visuals of water from all around the world.
A force of nature. Water is the beginning, the end, and all that flows between. Oceans, rivers, rain, the way we move, create and dream. Even that which seems fixed is in constant motion. Everything in life is in infinite flow. Nothing is static. Nothing stands still. It is just a question of time. Water is a portal, our living relative, a direct line from our ancestors to everything we know.
And they'll enter this, hopefully like a sense of a kind of portal experience and just really see and witness the beauty of water. And there's an invitation to connect to the waters within them as well, because that's what's so powerful about water, is it's obviously in us. And then they'll be invited to take part in a kind of participatory ritual where they'll take water from the altar, and then they'll be invited to give it back to a land or another river or a spring, and help them to also connect to these local areas of water. So the gallery piece is the beginning of the journey. It's not the end.
I love it. I just love these ideas of these, like what you're calling these little portal experiences that are just popping up in places, right? Where so you're sort of like helping people immerse into this, back into this kind of watery relationship. Yeah. And then you're sort of planting watery seeds for them to sort of take back out and find their water, right?
Exactly.
Find your water.
It's exactly that. It's like really encouraging, because I think I've found that a lot of people who I feel wouldn't come to a river blessing, they just would, it's not for them.
Right.
But they might go to an art gallery.
Right, exactly. This is it. This is the thing. It's these little smart moves we need, these experiments. Yeah. That we can meet people more where they're at, right?
And also doing it. I think the big thing for me with this work, I've got an incredible mentor, and she has said to me, you have to do things because you really want to do it. Yeah. Because that's the ultimate fuel.
Ultimate.
And for me, when I see sparkly, glittery water, it literally makes me so happy. And when we did a pilot back in March for this piece, and when I stood in the room and I saw, because it's all done with projections, so it's so beautiful. These videos of water are just like looking into starlight. Right. And I looked at it and I just thought, this just makes me so happy, and not that, that kind of heavy energy, which I'm not going to lie, I've had at points. Not getting it sponsored that day, I was like, but we got it. You do it because you love it. And I think that's the ultimate medicine, and it's healing by doing the work. It's very healing in so many ways.
I think it sounds amazing, and I'm so pleased you've done it. And we talked a little bit about, we were talking before, weren't we, before we press record, about our, like the kind of demons and the difficulties in living a creative life and trying to put things out into the world, and the possible connections with neurodivergence and what we understand about our sort of late diagnosis and how that's impacted our work. And I just wonder whether you could share anything around this process, maybe some of the points where it's been like, what have you had to sort of overcome, or what have the blocks really been on birthing this new thing? It's also, like, as I say, just last thing, because also you, from paternity, like you say, like, you know, knowing how to work in the client world, in commercial creativity, which we know is another whole nother game as well, you know, because you're sort of, you know, you're producing and creating, but there are other agendas at play.
Totally.
And there's money as well, which there is not often when it's your own.
So it's also been self-funded. I think it's been so, I felt at moments like the creative journey, there's two projects going on alongside each other. One, there's the piece and the work, and then two is the creative journey and learning. And I coach creatives as well, so I love coaching artists and creatives, particularly through that like block. And I felt like I've had to do this almost like slightly on behalf of some of those, because like I have to put it into action. Like I have to, because there's no for me, there's no more frustrating feeling than having these projects within you that you really want to share, but you just can't get it out. And I feel like that's a very lot of neurodivergent people can identify with that. It's feeling like you've got this motor, this drive, but then also it's like you sit down at your desk and it's like you're Mr. Potato Head and all your eyes and noses have fallen off, and you're trying to stay focused, but you've got a million things that you want to focus on. I mean,
they're all interesting.
They're all interesting to them all. Yeah. And this feeling that we did talk a little bit about being too much. And I think if I look at if this piece, I think, has come about from a neurodivergent brain, like thousands and thousands of videos of water, I think might be an indicator. But thank God for the amazing team as well. And actually they've predominantly have been men. So there's been Paul Webb, who actually he's a beekeeper as well.
I know Paul.
Oh, you know Paul?
Black Bee Paul.
Yeah, Black Bee Paul.
How funny.
Yeah. So Paul,
shout out to Paul.
Massive shout out to Paul, because Paul's
been here.
Yeah,
he's been.
Paul, talk about that riverbank analogy. Like, he actually heard me on a podcast and we met and we talked, and he'd had something of a similar kind of vibe that he'd wanted to kind of maybe work on, and over time it kind of became more of this water piece. But he literally gave me the confidence and the feeling like, you can do it, and he helped with a lot of the practical stuff. And he also, we co-wrote the meditation sequence together.
Beautiful.
And that feeling of someone just like holding a bit of that energy for you to kind of just keep it moving when I might, because it's self-initiated, no one's asked me to do it. No client has said, other than the water maybe has said to me through all the river. It's a different way, than a client brief. No, it was just that feeling, and that got me over that initial hump of kind of actually committing to the project and getting it moving. And then he brought in an amazing team. So there's Cal Bain, who's done a lot of the video motion. So again, me thinking, I'm too much. To me, giving someone like 1,000 videos of water, for me, would be overwhelming. But he was like, great, like all this stuff to work with. Yeah. And so it's that feeling. And then David Morgan, who he worked on all the sound. So taking, again, like hours and hours of me just recording, ceremonies in Peru and like flutes and me on my kalimba and, and again, he has woven that into this soundscape that's just so moving. And when I lose faith, when I lose a bit of my confidence, I just listen to that. And it's because it is such a sensory piece, and water is sensory. And so, I think that's been a lot. And also my inner critic. It's been a really big piece of work, working with that. And also having, dialoguing with those parts of myself. So doing some parts work and actually getting a coach to support me as well. I realised that I coach people, but I wasn't giving myself that.
Yeah.
And actually having someone, so an ADHD specific coach. She helped me to kind of just move through certain threshold moments that I think when you are working predominantly on your own, unlike when we're doing paternity, I've been on my own at home, and that has its pros and its massive cons, because that's when I tend to spiral slightly if I'm just on my own too much. So getting that again, those kind of structures and those supports, so my creativity can flow.
So it's interesting when you talk about the learning, because it's making me think of like, the Buddhists at Plum Village, they talk about like, go to get together like the river or something like that. Yeah, there's the sense the river is very much a sort of a community. Yeah, and totally. That whole bit of like being, but then the need to be alone as well. And so like it's sort of like you're like a little sort of eddying tributary. Like we need to get back into that. They need, it's again, it's the ebb and flow, I guess, isn't it? Of being part of with others, and that, and again, and just that whole the movement,
collaboration,
I guess, having that movement to it all.
And I think that's that piece is everyone's got these very different skills to offer, and I love that. Like, that's always the thing that I just love. Whenever I'm in any sharing circle, I just love seeing how different everyone is and how everyone's got their own uniqueness. And I think really owning that uniqueness and really accepting yourself in all your foibles and your wonderful qualities is so like key, I think. And the symbol of the well, I
wanted to talk about that.
Because when you were really talking about the river,
the way you talk about the well, and
because I really battled with the name actually, but it just kept coming back to the well, and it's a lot of people will read into that it's about wellness, but the well-being I'm speaking to with the well is one of that of we can't have true wellness in our culture. Wellness is so commodified as well, isn't it? And it's so individualistic a lot of the time. But true wellness, I think the wellness that we're yearning for, seeking or wanting to embody more in the world is one of relationality and one of being in true reciprocity and honouring of nature, of life. And we can't have that outside of that. It feels like they're one and the same, aren't they? True well-being. What's that great quote? It's not a good sign of health to be well adjusted.
To be well adjusted with sick society.
To sick society,
Krishna and
Guru Murthy. There we go. We kind of said a quote together, didn't we?
That was a collaborative quote extraction from somewhere.
From two neuro
nutters.
Two neuro nutters. There we go. There's another idea.
But, yeah, exactly. So is the physical, the well?
Yes.
Like the well?
Yeah.
Is actually where we get the word well from?
Yes.
It's from there, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So let's get into that.
Yeah.
That's just brilliant.
Well, I mean, yes. And it could not be more of the deep, dark feminine to me. When you look down a well, it is like looking into a portal, isn't it? Like when you look, but there is a well, the place where the real idea was germinated was where I do my Qigong every week, and there's a well there at the chapel in Bruton, and it's like that well I felt was like infusing this work, like it was just silently kind of like there. And also a well is it's the meeting place of the humans and
the land
and the waters. It's like that animate human meeting point, and the circle, well, they're not all circles obviously, but it's just something so symbolic, I think, in that in the well, and it needs tending. That's what I love about it. And it was traditionally tended by the women of the community, as far as I understand, and it was that sacred role of that constant tending, this constant honouring, this constant devotion, because it gave sustenance to the whole community.
Right.
We live on a life-giving rock called Earth, hurtling through space. How bonkers is that? You're listening to the Spaceship Earth podcast.
If you'd like to support the running of the Spaceship Earth podcast, head over to our Substack and sign up. You'll get every episode straight to your inbox, weekly writing, plus other crew offerings. We're grateful for whatever you can give. Join us at becomingcrew.substack.com. Well, just, I guess it's, we drink, right? Or whatever we're putting inside. There's nothing more intimate than what you decide to ingest. Yeah. So for the waters that you're putting in you, there is nothing really more intimate than that.
Yeah.
Because you're literally pouring something in.
Yeah.
So the more you think about this, of how we've got here, do you know what I mean?
Totally.
And you think about these relationships with this thing called the well, this source of life that's just there, and you understand why the vitalness of having relationship with that place, and with that process, that tending to that, and knowing the condition and the health of that, and because how the health of that well was going to indicate the health of your people, and then you start seeing, like, because I remember, like, as a kid, you either in stories but there'd often be wells. There would I just felt like wells was something I knew about. I remember me and my brother like discovering wells. Do you know what I mean? When we were out, like, exploring stuff, because I guess less stuff was concreted over at that point. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It felt like this stuff was even a bit more visible, maybe.
Yeah.
But you can see how so much of it has been kind of hidden away and
totally
covered up. And,
yeah. And that's so symbolic, isn't it?
Right.
We're literally hiding the very thing that signifies true abundance and true sustenance and true feminine.
Yeah.
So it's like and many there's quite a few people who follow all the springs and how they're buried under the ground and the concrete, and many war memorials used to be springs and wells, and so it's like that's quite a symbolic thing, isn't it? Of kind of, I mean, it can be more symbolic actually, but there's nothing more. For me, like going to the local springs has been, and gathering water and going to the wells, that's been such a lovely part of this process too. And just wow, like drinking from something that's just coming out of the earth. Like could it get more simple and could it get more beautiful? And it's clean, beautiful, fresh, bubbling water that's just coming out. Yeah, like it's a miracle.
Yeah.
And there's no wonder it's so used across all religions as the signifier of like source.
Yeah, and I love that. That when you now look at that etymology of that word, to be well, if you take it back to this source, it can't be individualistic, because you know what I mean. It's like it's everyone's wellness in that that point.
Totally,
and it's fascinating how words become. How they get shaped into other meanings. Like you talk about the wellness. Wellness.
Yeah, package it up and sell it to the highest bidder.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
With dirty water. It's like, I mean, there's not much sacred wells in wellness. I mean, not in the wellness industry, but I mean, but no, I love that.
I think there's, that thing of, because where I got to as well, through a journey, because the project's been brewing. I mean, it's been brewing for a really long time, but it really came online about 2 years ago, I'd say. But there's been moments where that feeling of stagnation has come. And again, I think that's quite in the creative journey, when we get that feeling of stagnation, it's like, we talked about movement earlier. It's like we need to get something moving again, and we need to take some kind of action. And it's often, I think, I get stagnant if I'm getting too outcome based. Right. And I'm thinking, okay, well, if this, then that, and I start getting very like rigid, and actually I then that you kind of box yourself in. And I felt like at moments, like, I mean, you're working with a symbol as strong as the well, I had moments where I felt like I'd like fallen down in the well, and I was like stagnant again. And actually most of the time it took reaching out and maybe asking for help from someone, or having a meeting, or just something that would not make me feel like I'm holding it on my own. It's okay to reach out. And I think sometimes we can feel very alone with these self-initiated projects. Give me a client project with a budget, easy peasy, because you've got money, but it's not about that. There's something deeper. And I think with these guys who supported this project, like, without them, it wouldn't be happening. And I feel quite emotional about it. It's like they really did help me with it.
Making me think though about like the well as well, like community that root back to the sort of well and its wellness. If that makes sense.
Well, singing. Right. I imagine so much singing and devotion and clearing of the leaves and just. Again, that very like in the Balinese culture, that offerings every day, like that the devotional piece. I think that would have been at the heart. But I have to say, I actually am not an expert on wells. The word has kind of come to me, but what I'm so excited about, and again with the water work, it's like there is going to be, I hope, and if anyone knows anyone listening, people who really know about this stuff, and so I can learn more, and it can be this. It's a journey for me to learn more and collaborate with people who are maybe deeper into the history.
It's an invitation now you're putting out there into anyone that's working with water in this way to come forward and
see what we
connect
can
their piece into it and
exactly
their little tributary stream spring puddle puddles are beautiful too.
Puddles
can be
there's
beautiful.
A few puddles in the artwork, I think.
There?
A few, because it's that simple, isn't it? It's that there's beauty everywhere, and it often does just require us to slow down that kind of linear busyness and go into that more receptive space where we can see the beauty.
I've now got this, being ADHD, my autism is kicking in and wants to go deeper into this well thing. I was chatting yesterday, actually, I was out walking with two of my fellow guides, and our crew were Mark and Mark, and we were talking, we're sort of in the midst of this young men's work at the moment, and we're sort of figuring stuff out, and a lot of the questions that we're working with is around belonging. It's like what does that even mean, and where do we feel that? And we were just walking yesterday, and we were having this conversation about our own kind of sense of belonging or not, and where we feel it and where we don't. And we were talking a bit, it's something I've been thinking about a lot, is this sort of like, when we don't have relationship with place, like with the wells, with the lands, and we don't have that relationship, and particularly where there's community also involved in that relationship, it almost feels like there's a sort of like you're untethered, you're not quite, it's like these words again, rooted, grounded, it's like you're untethered, you're sort of almost floating in this culture. You sort of move from thing to thing, group to group, conversation to conversation, special interest group. There's something, we were just saying, there's something always, for us, always feels like there's missing. This kind of like, this thing that actually roots you into something. You know what I mean? Yeah. And it's making me think again of, as you're talking about the wells and the relationships with the water. And again, it's this, I think modernity has done this extraordinary job at sort of untethering us. Do you know what I mean? Sort of promising all of this stuff and all of this connection and all this possibility, and yet at the same time it feels like you don't know where you actually belong. Yeah, totally. I'm sensing again from what I experienced through the river-based work and the land-based work here, and this remembering, this belonging that's sort of coming back, because it's not just you and a place or a bit of water, whatever, but there's others. We are starting to form community again around these more than human parts of the world, and we're sort of building that relationship and that practice in community, and that's where this sense of belonging is starting to come. I don't know if that was a question or a ramble.
No, well, I love listening to it. No, because it's so powerful when you meet all different kinds of people and you're walking. We did this walk, we're going to do a few walks called well walks. Right. So in October we're going to do a well walk, and when you can walk in nature with each other on paths where maybe not our ancestors, but many generations have walked these same lines, these same energy lines that, often are connecting the waters. Yeah. It's deeply healing. And when you've done like pilgrimage walks and things like that, but it's so simple, but it gives you that deep sense of connection to a place. And then by connecting with each other in doing that, you're just, something's happening. It's the Etch-a-Sketch, isn't it? It's like you're kind of doing an Etch-a-Sketch together. It's that feeling of you're rebuilding like that muscle in you that remembers the different plants and the different birds and the different trees, and you see each other, and you don't feel like you're all boxed in and hidden away from each other on your screens. You're actually seeing that people, I think I can get quite in my own worries about myself and not feeling like I belong in certain ways in my life. But when you get around other people, you see that everyone's dealing with it in some way or other, or they're dealing with grief and they're dealing with the things that make life. And I think that's that we can box ourselves away. And I've done that a little bit in the last few months because I have gone through a recent grief, and you can cut yourself away from people, and sometimes maybe that's necessary, but then I think that re-entry is also really powerful when you remember your community and you remember how important that is.
How has water supported you in grief? Or has it?
Yeah, no, well, it really has. I mean, tears for a start. So many tears. And just knowing that the tears actually are so healing, and they connect us back, you know, through all the emotion of all our family lines. Like when we actually cry, it's a deeply profound act, I think, to allow the tears to come. But going to the river, you know, going and making offerings. And I think in some ways having a creative practice has been helpful. It's been hard because part of me just wanted to disappear into a big blob and mush on the floor that I think grief does ask of you. But there's something in this work that's, because I nearly postponed it, and I just thought, I can't do this when I'm feeling this much sadness in me. And as grief does, it compounds other grief. So you go through one grief and it brings up all the other griefs. That, you know, my dad died when I was 30 at a hugely kind of pivotal time, you know, in my life, and this recent grief brought that up as well. So it was like, it just really compounded it. And then I had this option to kind of not do the work or do the work. And I actually felt like, because this water work is grief work, it feels like it is that deep feminine grieving work that we're all in. And I heard about something called sorry business. Have you heard of sorry business? So it's in Aboriginal culture. It's their way of, they call grieving sorry business. It's sorry business. And it's not to be held by one individual. It's to be held in community, because through community we are witnessed in our grief, because everyone's grieving in some way, shape or form, whether it's a changing identity, whether it's the sadness for what's happening to the world, whether it's the loss of a pet, a parent, you know, a relationship breakdown. And there's something so powerful. We can't create if we don't acknowledge grief. We can't, I think, because grief is an ending, and we can only have beginnings because we have endings. And nature teaches us that in the most profound way possible, with the seasons and the cycles within our bodies. And we're constantly in beginnings and endings, aren't we? This spiraling nature of life. So this piece, to some extent, is that bringing of that sorry business, because sorry business extends to the land, the grief that they have for the land and what happened to their people and what continues to happen. And so there's something in that, like the power of holding space for both beauty and creativity and loss and grief simultaneously. And can we expand ourselves enough in these times? If anything, I feel like that's one of the main invitations, to be able to hold the capacity for the ending as well as maybe the beginning of what we're feeling and sensing is coming through, from a deeper sense of relationship to the earth and the elements, to each other, to the land, to us, to actually loving ourselves again, because we kind of hated on ourselves for a long time. I know I have. And actually, you know, and when I think about how critical I can be of myself, and you know, there's those wonderful experiments that they've done on water, and you give it the good. I don't know if you've seen that, the Emoto work. Some people might say it's kind of in the woo-woo category, but I find it beautiful. Veda Austin as well does a lot in this space, where she will give different words or sounds to water. I mean, we know somatics obviously creates different shapes in water or on the Chadni plates. But this scientist, Emoto, played different music, and I think he gave different emotions to water. And when gratitude was like the most beautiful, fractal, incredible pattern when it froze, and like hate was just this big, horrible blob.
Wow.
And when we think that we are, you know, plus 60% water,
right,
if we're saying that stuff to ourselves, if we're constantly criticizing and berating, and I think that inner perfectionism, and I think it comes through so much in the activist space, it's that kind of led by a lot of inner critic. And I think a lot of that is wanting to fix and solve, and actually at what point do we give ourselves a bit of a break and allow the emergence to unfold as we participate as well.
Well, it's so, yeah, all of this is so interesting. It was making me think, actually on the way here, I was thinking about Joanna Macy's work and, you know, the Great Turning. And I remember she always had that thing about the sort of holding actions, the different things that we need people participating in. One was kind of like halting the destruction, right? You know, there are people that are halting the destruction that business as usual is causing, right? So that would be all like frontline activists, you know, protests, putting yourselves on the line, all that extraordinary work which people have done forever.
Yeah.
And yet at this moment in time, it's getting incredibly hard to do because of clampdowns on, you know, legislation, arresting, you know, literally to be a frontliner now. I was thinking even in the, you know, since we had our last conversation, right? So 2019 was the last sort of XR push, I think, around then. I remember having a big breakdown, burnout in that time myself. But you could, you know, those were still very valid things. That, I mean, that's kind of what activism felt like. You know, you had to get out on the streets or get on the front lines or break into stuff or whatever it was you were doing. But that's becoming, almost today, it's becoming incredibly hard for anybody to do that, because you're literally now, you are risking your life. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? People are being locked up for God knows how long for holding up bits of cardboard and God knows what else, or spray painting weapons factories, or, you know, so that type of activism in some ways is, although it's critical and it still has a huge power, it's almost becoming, as the machine seems to grow more powerful. And then she always used to say, I can't remember what she called it. One was around three things. One was around a kind of consciousness shift. One was around, so this halting the destruction. One was around bringing in these kind of new life-sustaining ideas, or whatever is going to sort of emerge from this industrial, destructive, you know, 500 years or whatever that we've been in. And then this other piece was this sort of shifting consciousness, almost like how do we shift the consciousness in the culture that we're not separate beings, you know, we are part of this web of life, you know, this is our more than human family, you know, all of this great stuff, you know, and I always remember that was like it was a really lovely sort of frame.
So beautiful.
You know, it's a way of thinking about, oh, where's my place here? Do you know what I mean? And that we can move and we can be playing parts. But you know what you were just speaking about, and the grief work that's so close to the surface for everyone. I experience, and yet is still incredibly difficult for many people to step into, myself included at times. I've actually, like, the only things that really have helped me truly grieve is psychedelic therapy. That's with other people, like not on my own, but it's like in community with the guiding that enables me to get to a place where I can, because I suppress so much, you know what I mean? And I'm someone that grieves a lot as well, but there's still bits that I can just not go near, you know? So over the years I've found, so now for me, grief is like, I have a practice. I know that I need to dedicate time to that work in order for me to be able to keep doing the work that I do. Do you know what I mean? Like, the grief is a creative source. Without a doubt. Like, if I don't pay attention to that work, I can't see the things that I can see.
It cracks you open.
Right. And so, but it's interesting. So there's more like, I think you're touching upon maybe a little bit this in the work you're doing. Like, what is this? I'm not going to say it's gentler activism, because that sounds a bit weird, but you know what I'm saying? What is this more deeper, creative, you know, but there's something I think in this moment that's really calling for more of this exploration in order to bring about the kinds of futures that I think many of us are trying to dream of, but we can't keep. It's getting really hard to fight it because it's getting so dangerous, and also we're stuck in this loop of like these cycles of, you know, it's like fighting energy,
pushing against more of what we don't want, right, rather than perhaps maybe some of these times is about that invitation. That's why I think, again, creativity is this, just, it keeps coming back to that for me, is it's like, it is to, you know, see the problems and to generate the solutions, to actually, and that needs co-creation and collaboration. No one can be creative in isolation. And so it brings us all to go, okay, well, you know, how can we collaborate? How can we actually bring about positive change in these times? And how can we use and harness the creative thinkers and everyone else who can collaborate? Like, we're all in this ecosystem. We need an ecology of change. We're talking about change. It can't just be one kind of change. Right. That's the whole thing that's gotten into this problem, is that kind of thinking of it's only one way.
Monocultures.
Yeah. It's actually, we all need to claim our unique creative gifts and collaborate and co-create to bring about the world we want to see. And I think that is kind of overwhelming, and where do we start? But I think it's just, what are we centering, and then work around that. So for me, it's like, what is beautiful to us, what brings us alive, like what makes our hearts sing, and then kind of create from that place. And it could be iterative, and it could be tiny little steps. Like this piece for me has been like 10 years probably in the making, and I didn't know what I was doing, but just following your intuition is, I think anyone can do that. And we're so busy, and things cost so much, and it's absolutely shit show. But actually there's always chance, if we can use that, that inner masculine to create the container, to allow ourselves to have the time. I heard someone say a great quote the other day. It was like, don't tell me what you care about, show me your calendar.
Right. Interesting.
That's so good. Are you making time for your creativity? Are you making time for your rituals, or what just brings you real meaning? Or are you kind of on an autopilot that is maybe burning you out, or separating you, or numbing you out, or taking you further from your true creative essence? But I think if we can all support each other into this new time, I think that's the world I want to see.
So it's really beautiful thinking about this emergent process that you've been on, this emergent journey that you've been on, but you haven't let go of it, right? With all the shit that goes on in our lives.
Yeah.
Something has kept you recording, kept you like taking pictures of water, kept you recording stuff. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And you've kept doing it, and now it's all emerging, it's coming together as an expression in this moment, because you've trusted. I don't know when, from what I know about you, and you have a very strong intuitive connection and trust to that, and you've kept going with that. But I think I think we all have that. Again, it's like, we have to learn to tune back into it.
Yeah.
But I think that idea of, again, sort of long, patient creative projects. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
In a time which is so obsessed with speed.
Totally.
And we feel it.
Yeah, and you see everyone else doing it. One of the practices that has really practically helped me with that, and it's actually something I do online for my community, is I do these seasonal, I call them my spiral sessions, or spiral rituals. It's where we just take time out of the busyness, and I do these drawings where they're like, they're very, very neurodivergent, like mind maps basically. It starts off with a spiral, and then it's just words and feelings and things all around it. But I take people through a really simple process, which is focusing on the things from the last season that they want to let go of. What's been really hard, what's been really challenging, what are the emotions, and where have there been difficulties in your life, not blaming anyone else, going, okay, what was it in me that was what came online through that interaction? Or was it frustration? Was it fear? Was it anger? Was it sadness? And anything that you're letting go goes on that spiral, and then we burn it. And then we do another one, which is things that you're grateful for. And that's, that can be anything in your life that gives you real resilience and strength. And that's always a lovely one to do. And then the final one is what you want to bring more of in your next season, your next spiral. And that's where I think I actually have kept hold of a thread, because I went back and looked back through all my scrawlings.
Right.
I really love that idea about how creativity, it kind of projects choose us, right? And it's a relationship that you're in, that has come to you, like you with this land, and me, I think, with water. It's been speaking and whispering, and then it gets louder and it's shouting at you or whatever. But it's how to keep that thread alive is that active ritual. I think the rituals have helped me.
Right.
And that's why it's something that I like to share with my community, because it's really about their creativity. I really want them to focus on, there's obviously all the life stuff that comes in, but it's like, what are those things in your life? And that creativity can be their family and their community. It doesn't need to be a project, because we're all different. But actually just to give them space to focus on what they do want to bring in. And it's just a really beautiful, simple journey. And it's really helped me. And I think it's just kept that flow going.
And I think it's funny, actually, when you were talking about that, I remember we had a team here recently, and actually we did in this spot, we did a little very impromptu sort of meditation around letting go. And then we were all we ended up lying out on the ground here. And then actually we sort of invited, if people wanted to sort of maybe manifest something that had come through, and actually to take it to the stream and
lovely.
And let it, just back to that thing, but I was thinking, that It doesn't have to be complicated, does it?
Exactly.
It can be very sort of like, just like what's here. And, and just even that act of allowing yourself to take that invitation and go, okay, what does that, what do
I need to release?
What is in me
what
that
is heavy
needs to go?
Totally.
You know?
I think that simple, you could take a pebble, there's a lot of practices where you take a pebble to the water or a rock, and it's like, really, what is it that is weighing me down, and actually gratefully give it back, because there's always such information, such growth in all the things we've had to work through, isn't there? It's always informing the next part. It's always the next, the next spiral. It's really holds the pearls, but it's like, actually, ritual is just that constant cycling of release and renewal, release and renewal, release and renewal. And we go to nature because it knows that. Yeah.
It's how everything is functioning through that cycling. And
that's maybe the way to get out of the head a little bit, because it's like there's science in that. And I think that's helpful for any of the more kind of linear minds. It's like, that's why I love the whole spirals work that I do, because it speaks to a truth, a universal truth, that everything is spiraling. We spiral around, the sun. We're all spiraling through this universe. We spiral through the seasons. Our heart is a spiral pump. Our DNA, everything. The galaxy that we're in is a giant, great big spiral.
Yeah. Each day is a spiraling beginning and ending. We've got a full moon tonight.
And we're right in the midst of it. This is a very powerful one, apparently. And a big day to be thanking the waters.
Yeah. Can I ask you some questions around Spaceship Earth?
Passenger
crew
definitely
questions.
Yeah.
So, in your opinion, what part of this spaceship feels most broken right now?
I think it's a whole system malfunction, isn't it? I think every button and every beep is going off. Oh, what part is most broken? I genuinely, can I say that it's all of the systems that I think we're at that stage, aren't we? Where maybe it's the, I don't want to blame it only on the driver that's got a one-way mission and not listening to anyone else, but I think who's the top-down power structure of the captain. It's almost, to me, it feels like the mission. It's like, what's the mission? The mission is to care, and we've lost the mission. The mission has become to kind of co-op or conquer and to charge for everything. And actually, if we were to take it back to the simplest, I think it's on that beautiful film Aluna about the Kogi, and there's just this bit in it that just struck. One of the elders is saying, our role is to care. Like, that is our role. And if everything was centered around that, what would life look like if it was care was at the center? So I think the mission has gone wrong, and care needs to be the mission.
Beautiful. I love that. What's still miraculously working?
Lovely. So much, isn't it? I think and that's we're so lucky to still have all the beauty that we've spoken of. There's so much, I find, like in community, that people are really gathering. Like, I'm really sensing, things that were quite like fringe when we last spoke. Are becoming big things, whether that's big festivals or words that are more in the narrative, or just, ceremonies and healing circles and sound, and like people are discovering like so many things. And the water work, like we're talking about, it's like, it's really, there's a wellspring of really beautiful action taking place, or like deep remembering. Look at the kind of rising of all the kind of pagan, like, kind of vibes, like weird walks and all the pilgrimages. It's like, to some extent, there's an element of me. It's like, are we paganifying things, and it's part of another more kind of co-opting energy, or like, But I actually think that it's a sign that we're really, particularly here, like remembering the indigenousness of here.
Yeah, right.
Because for so long we've been looking to places, haven't we, where it's, you know, been, you know, doing their practices.
Right.
Whereas actually there's something, but obviously here it didn't, to my understanding, and I could well be wrong here, there's not that line was broken. And so we're really trying to pick something up, but we're kind of self-teach ourselves. But if we can listen, and that's what my piece is, The Waters Are Speaking, it's like, what are we listening to? Like how can we listen more? How can listening be a radical act? We need to slow down in order to listen. And that's listening to ourselves as well, and trusting our intuition and trusting our instincts to just go and sit with the river, or go on a walk, or have a particular conversation with someone, or create this artwork you don't know why. And just maybe it's part of a bigger pattern that's unfolding and we won't even know in this lifetime anyway. Because we're not talking about we could be talking about a quite quick shift, but most likely we're the ones who are, you know,
we're not going to see the full impacts of these shifts.
We're kind of in the birthing, you know, the hospicing and the birthing kind of happening at once, the grief and the life. Some
early midwifing.
We're midwives and undertakers combined.
Exactly. It's like it's a couple of different hats you have to wear. Actually, but there's, you know, many ways. I mean, God, this is a whole nother podcast, isn't it? But it's sort of like the sort of threshold work, right?
Oh my gosh.
Of endings and beginnings.
Yeah.
And it's not clean.
No.
Well, it doesn't feel clean to me. It feels kind of sort of like, you know, don't know. Yeah. It feels again, it's sort of like it's quite blurry and alive and mysterious, and
like that again is one of the big skills we need to learn, isn't it? How we can be in that betweenness, that threshold, and it's that not knowing what's around the corner, like dealing with uncertainty, which is another reason I like the spiral, because it's like that. It's like, could there be a better symbol for not knowing what's around the corner? You know, it's not a straight line. We can't see what's going to happen in the next few years, but we can just maybe use our feeling sense and our intuition to kind of edge around slowly around each bit and just trust the journey. But it's the hardest work, I think, trusting the process.
Yeah, it's a thread on this podcast in my uncertainty. How do we relate to it? How do we work with it?
Yeah.
And you've just spoken to it, but it's because again, it feels like it's so interesting. You know, you talk about listening, and again, my mind is going back to this. Maybe it's because of the young men's work. Maybe it's this thing, but again, the quality of listening, which many in this culture would say it's more of a feminine thing, right? Because just men are just loud. I mean, generally, I'm generalizing, but the culture's loud. The culture is always, it's not even just men, it's just the dominating energy.
Yeah,
is
shouty.
Noise.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Yeah, true.
And it's like even in, you'd experience it as a kid in school. It's like those who speak the loud or have got the answers, or do you know what I mean? It's just noisy, and so the quality of listening. And you know, we sit again here on the land. You see it. You know, as soon as people come out and they spend a bit of time, they sit in circle, and we, you know, introduce them to the concept of listening with the heart and all this kind of stuff. You know, you realise that people are like, oh my God, I'm feeling all this stuff that you didn't even know that you were feeling it.
Yeah.
Like grief, you don't even know you're sitting with, you're full of grief because it's so noisy out there.
Yeah.
You stop and you slow down and listen, and the land just kind of like looks at you, and you're like, up it comes. You know what I mean? So there's something about this, these, and then how that connects into the uncertainty, and that learning to be present with it and to be with it, like you say, whatever it is. You know, joy, grief, the dark, messy stuff, because the sort of default is to look for noise, doesn't it?
And to kind of numb it down, isn't it, really? And we all do that.
Yeah.
And it is exactly as you say, it's when you do stop and you do quieten down that often the real emotion comes. Yeah. And that's the waters, isn't it? That's that feeling, and often it will invoke tears, or it could invoke tears, but in that is that cleansing. It's like that freedom that we get when we release. Yeah. You know, just like the clouds when it's, you know, when they're heavy and we get rain, and it's like they're releasing with the pressure. It's like maybe that's that feeling as well at the moment, because we haven't had that.
Right.
Like, it's like we haven't. It's like this feeling. It's like kind of pressure cooker.
Exactly, intensity.
Intensity. Yeah, and it's like actually when. But that is where, as we know, you know, that is where, and hence why there's so much ceremony work and medicine work, is because it's like we need to be kind of clearing the system right now. Maybe that's this generation's role, is just to kind of cleanse the waters of these like ancestral
clearing the space.
vines.
Clearing the space for something new to emerge. That's life, probably a lifetime's work, isn't it?
Totally. And not that following that inclination to fill it back up again.
Right.
But is like also to do the work that's meaningful, but get the right balance so we're not then recreating. I mean, it's the big work, isn't it? To how do we create in these times and do it in a way that's authentic and stays in alignment with our values, and we don't just keep extracting ourselves.
Yeah, it's back to what I always saw, your paternity work patterns, and then, this point of like, I often think about, this, we're being sort of called to repattern, aren't we?
Mm-hmm.
Sort of like not make sure that we're not repeating the same patterns that are causing so much of this separation and extraction and violence and domination. And that is deeply personal as well as out here, because we're carrying it all.
Totally.
And so like we're having to repattern ourselves and our relationship to each other and our relationship to land and water.
Yeah. And then you've got some time make some bread as well.
Exactly. You can go like camping with your kids and stuff, and like, oh my God, it's exhausting. We could go on.
I wanted to share just a simple thing, which was like when I talked about the inner critic thing, that the inner critic journey that I had, which was this realizing I had this kind of almost like embodying what was this critic in my life, and where was it? And it was like on my left,
gesturing on your shoulder.
It was on my left shoulder.
Right, yeah.
And it was just through like, I guess, like a parts work kind of meditation piece. And I've had back pain for about 6 years, like chronic back pain. I no way could be sat here like this, but I did this really quite simple exercise, and I did this workshop with my coach, and it was this figure here, and I got that figure to kind of just dialogue with it. Actually, what it wanted was me to do my best, but it was just pecking at me the whole time, like peck, 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 kind of getting at me with every decision I was making. It wasn't almost discerning which one. It was just like swooping on in and pecking away. And anyway, I kind of dialogued with it, and it stood back in this quite like amazing, it was like my inner patriarch, basically. Wow. It was my inner masculine. Yeah. And it kind of stood back, and it suddenly seemed quite like it was holding space for me. And it was quite like, it just wanted the best for me. But rather than this here, and then she then got me to kind of just connect to more what is my essence. And it was just this like glittering water, like my installation is actually. It was like just like this glittering water that was, just kind of just this feminine glittering water. And this back pain that I've had, it was crippling, and it's just literally gone.
Wow.
And it's since working with my inner critic, and I was like, it's just blown my mind that could, because I've always believed in the mind body or soul body connection, but this was the most extreme, and it was right on the threshold of this project, and right when I had to really do this work. And I feel like there's something, so if we're all working with that inner critic and that inner patriarch that is like the taskmaster, it's all an inside job. Like we create the world from the inside out that we embody. So it's like, I think doing some of this work, it's activated something in me. I don't know where that thread's leading me.
No.
That and the grief work, but something of helping to release people from the shackles that we create, and that we get ourselves stuck in little binds.
I mean, it makes sense to me, because I think the older I get, the more I realise I don't know, really. And the more I think I open up to the fact that, like, I sort of feel like I am so many things, and I feel like there are so many beings that have shaped me. Yeah. More than human ancestors, experience, so many things are at play. Do you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And again, so the only way to sort of has been, again, through sort of practice and awareness and all these kind of, and that I struggle with a lot of the time, but I'm not on top of all of this all the time.
Same.
Right? but I'm learning of its importance to my own wellness.
Yeah.
Is to be curious about it, is to try and have some kind of humility around it, and also a sense of not knowing.
Totally.
But I do try and give this stuff attention, and I experiment, and I guess maybe I'm experimenting more with like that. There are many other things going on that are sort of shaping me and who I am and how I'm showing up. And some of them I sort of feel like I'm familiar. Some of them I sort of don't quite know what it is. I have an inkling, but I do give time to sort of, I might meditate on something, or I might just sit with that part of me a bit. Do you know what I mean? I might walk
totally,
with it,
yeah, listening.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I'm not doing it so I can control it, because I can't, but I think it's allowing me in some strange way to be more comfortable with the fact that I have no idea. Do you know what I mean?
Totally.
and that everything is on. But actually, it's strangely, it's quite beautiful as well, because it makes me putting less of that pressure on myself to sort of
know the answer,
to know it.
Yeah,
do you know what I mean? Or
so
to
exhausting.
Be sure of who I am.
Totally.
Do you know what I mean?
100%. I mean, there's nothing more, and that is that inner patriarch, isn't it? That wants to know, and that wants to go in and sort everything out and fix it and strategize and think our way out of something that I don't think is really thinkable, outable of.
I like that. Thinkable, outable. We'll have to think our way out of this podcast now.
Yeah, we do. But I'll say one final thing. That I've just enjoyed how we've gone so like internal and external, because it feels like, just as the world outside is giving us, like the body gives us the signals, doesn't it, of like what needs tending to.
Totally.
And so, that the world is giving us the signals now, like what needs tending to, and we just need to step back and listen, and then respond creatively and lovingly and gently or passionately, whatever is our way. But some response in tending and in care feels like the invitation.
Yeah, I love that. I'm really interested in this whole idea of attention, what we pay attention to, what we give attention to, feels really important at the moment. And so I'm wondering, in your opinion, like, what do you feel we might want to be paying closer attention to right now?
I mean, did you think I was going to say water?
You might say that.
Where is it coming from? Do we know our local rivers, and do we know our local springs? Do we know our local sources? I think that there's something so rewarding and nourishing and important to know where our water's coming from and to learn more about it. Find your local holy well, and there are so many. So there really are, like, for people to explore this. They're in London, they're in all the cities, and then springs and wells, and they're all over the shop. So I would say that, and also it's so beautiful as well. So really acknowledge the beauty of it. I'm going to keep it simple and just say that. I think that is just such a powerful one, and learning more, when you start to connect with it, it might open up other things and other doorways and other explorations.
Beauty. And so this is my final question. What might becoming crew ask of you in your local ecosystem?
Well, is it a massive cop-out to say this work? I love contributing to my community, and I've done quite a few things over the years, but this feels maybe the most meaning-making. And so I feel hopefully this is a way to create a ripple in my community where people do start to just, in big or small ways, just start to think more about water and really honour it and pay attention to it. I mean, it's a whole community built around water, as most communities are actually. Wherever there's a city is a water source, be it a river or a sea or a... So yeah, I think it would be my contribution as crew, put up a big installation in the spaceship.
More spaceship installations.
More spaceship. It does look really spacey, actually.
No, I'm looking forward to come. When is it again? When is it?
So it opens on 21st of August, and it's on from the 21st in the evening. People want to come to private view, they're very welcome to come.
Yeah.
And it closes on the 30th of August. And yeah, my intention is to travel around with it as well. So if anyone has anywhere, they know.
I have a very strong feeling that you are going to be travelling around with this thing.
Excellent.
I really feel it. A little gift for you. Look, that's,
oh my gosh.
That's our spaceship from
I
about
love that.
1,000 miles out, because we're 70% water, aren't we?
Yes, yeah.
So
oh my God, I love that.
That's what we look like from up in space, here on this little rock.
I love that, and the light's all shining through it. It's beautiful.
So is there anything, because I've asked you a lot of questions, is there anything you would like to finish with? Anything you want to share? Anything to sort of close off? While you have a little think, I'm going to get my bell.
Yeah, I don't know. I think mine is more just a personal thing. It is a thank you, because I feel like there's been this kind of work has been brewing for a while, and it's felt quite weird, because I've just been kind of brewing it in myself, and there's something very, being given the opportunity to share. I can feel like often I don't maybe make sense, because we're in a world where we have to chop things up into tiny little Instagram posts. And this, the spoken word and, communing with you and being by the river as the start of sharing, because I haven't shared anything really about this project yet, feels like a real blessing. So I'm just really grateful that you've held the space for me to be able to do that. And say thank you to you and the spring and the river. Yeah.
Beautiful. You're honestly, you're so welcome. It's just a joy to be able to have rambling, meandering conversations like this, because all the threads that you're holding, you're weaving, are of just great interest to me, and this podcast and the people that listen and the work we're trying to do here. And it's lovely to be able to sit here by this water and not be on a Zoom.
Yeah, it's the ultimate body doubling,
isn't it?
Me and you are body doubling, and with the river.
Exactly. So but I'd say amazing to what you do, and the journey you've been on. Just really excited for these waters to flow out into the culture, and for people to interact with them, and I'm sure it will just help move more people to connect with the waters in them, around them, and I love that. I think this is just such a beautiful kind of response to the times we're in, bringing this stuff out into the places that we're in, and helping people open up to this through these creative ways. So wishing you well.
Thank you.
And thank you for joining me on this lovely little ramble. And now I'm going to ring the bell to finish us off.
See you in another 8 years.
Imagine that.
What we've done.
Let's try and do that.
It's a date. It's a date.
So when will that be? Will that be 2034? July 2034.
See you then.
So I hope you enjoyed that conversation with Anna. I certainly did. A lot in there. If you can, check out her exhibition in Bruton. It's in the show notes. Do go and make it. I think it will be amazing. I have a feeling this will travel, this exhibition. I have a feeling it's gonna find its way to many other places. I hope so. I really do believe that will. I'm going to ask you immediately a quick favour. If you enjoyed this conversation, if you received something from it, please do send it to someone else. Stick it in a WhatsApp, email it, text it, put it on your socials if anyone still is doing any of that. I'm saying this because it's really important. I feel that's how things work on board the spaceship, right? That's how life works, through reciprocity. Like, we give and we receive, and then we give and we receive. And we totally depend on listeners sharing to bring new listeners in. We're ad free. We have no real budgets. We're just tiny. We're just doing this thing. We self-fund pretty much all of it. And we just need help from the listeners who appreciate what we're doing here. So if there's something in you think, actually, I know someone that quite appreciate this, I think, please do pass it on. It's just the way that this works. And it's the way that anything, if, we talk about, mainstream media and it's all corrupt and it doesn't talk about things, we have to try and support, the new emerging, the stories, the ideas, the projects that we want to spread. We need to get behind them. So that's just my little my little ask, basically. And yeah, the best way, if you like this, you want to check out, there's 100 and, there's probably with experimental episodes and music mixes, there's like 140 odd episodes back catalogue from the last 8 years. There's a lot of stuff to get into. And if you want to follow along more closely with what's going on, I would probably suggest signing up to the Substack, becomingcrew.substack.com. That way you just get notified of new episodes, learning gatherings, things we might be doing online, things we're doing out on the land with Becoming Crew. So that's probably the best way. And if you really, really, really like what we're doing, may you join the very small but beautiful group of listeners who subscribe with a little monthly donation, the price of about a pint or possibly like a cup and a half of coffee from a cafe once a month. And that helps support some of the production of this project. Yeah, and we would really appreciate your support. And for those that do that, yeah, just massive gratitude. I think that is it. We'll be taking a little bit of a break through the rest of August. A bit of festivals, a bit of downtime with the family. I'm going to be at Green Man. I'm doing a talk around Becoming Crew on Spaceship Earth on the Saturday in Einstein's Garden. If anyone is there, come check it out. I've got to write it now. But I'm planning on something sort of participative, let's say, and playful. There, look, I've said it now. I've got to bloody do it. Anyway, and we'll be back in September with more rambling. Thanks for listening. Look after yourself out there. Spread the love. This is what we need to grow. The care, the connection, the love. And yeah, be well. Until next time, peace and out.
This podcast is created in service to life, for you. It takes time, funds and energy to make. If you'd like to contribute to the running costs, you can donate the price of a cuppa or a pint. Find the link on our website. This podcast wouldn't exist without the following crew: Charlie Shred, Audio Jedi; Seaman Home Burgess, Engine Room; Willow Burgess, Jingles;